Kaya Podcast would like to acknowledge that this episode was recorded on Whadjuk land of the Noongar people. We recognise our First Nations people as the traditional custodians of the land, and we pay our respects to the elders past, present and future. Kaya Wanju, hello and welcome to the Kaya Podcast show. I am super excited. This has been a journey in itself to get here. We've touched and go, and we are finally here. And I would really love to welcome Noongar woman. She is the Queensland Firebirds goal shooter. She is a proud family member of mine. I'd like to welcome Donnell Wallam to the show. How are you, Donnell?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me. There was a lot of back and forth there to get something teed up, but we're finally here.
No, that's it. I'm honestly, when I sat down to write out my list of like dream people that I want to interview and kind of, that make what this show is about, you was at the top of that very top of the list. So no, it is just awesome to have you now. Firstly, you have by far, I think, the coolest nickname, the coolest sports name in sports in general. Like, it's the layup queen. Like, it's right up there with King James. Like, that is one of the best names ever. How did that sort of, like, we obviously know how that came around, but then did you kind of like the nickname when it came around, like, or not?
No, not really. It just kind of just kind of stuck. Like, I don't know who came up with it, but once I started playing netball and then doing those layups, it kind of just stuck, and now pretty much known to layups in netball. So.
Yeah, no, that's boss. But not many people know this, but you've actually got a basketball background. So you was playing ball before you was playing netball, and then so it kind of just worked out. Hey.
Yeah, I did play for the Southwest Slammers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was from juniors up to SBL before it changed over to NBL 1.
Yep.
And then kind of took a break from sport. Was working full time with Westpac for about 7 years, and then I got back into netball just through a friend asking me to play state league.
Yep.
And that's kind of where my netball journey took off. Like, I always played all sports, like us. Mob do, like anything. But I wasn't really interested in netball at all until I think it was like 2019 when I started playing state league.
Okay, that's when was you playing just for fun, or was you like, all right, I'm actually going to take this seriously? And
netball, I was just playing for fun. You know, the Peel Netball Football League and the Southwest Netball Football League. Yeah, I was just playing in there. So I played for Baruna and for Harvey Bulls.
Yeah.
Just for years while I was working full time. And then 2019 got asked to try out for a state league team in Perth, which is called the West Coast Warriors. And so at the time I thought I wasn't good enough because I didn't really take netball serious, didn't really know like how to get into the pathways or anything. And then went to my tryouts and then got into the team, played for 2 years, and then got a contract to go over to England. And that was 2021. I think COVID was still a thing then as well, so it was hectic time. But then once I went to England, that's when I kind of knew that I wanted to do this as a career. And I wanted to go further, and I wanted to get back to Australia and play in the best competition in the world. So
well, that's a big jump, like to kind of still kind of think, all right, am I gonna take this seriously? But before you even went to England, you won the Jill McIntosh medal in your very first year. So was it like, all right, I'm kind of good at this. Like,
I think it was actually because I won it 2 years in a row. The 2 years I played state league, I won it. And I think it was the second year that I won it that I was like, actually, I'm actually pretty good at netball. And maybe I can go further. And then I think in my second year was when I got, I call up just to be like a training partner with West Coast Fever.
Yep.
And so then that's kind of when when it all like clicked, like I'm actually good at this sport.
Yeah. Oh, I
You know,
like
we're
this.
deadly at all sports, but like you didn't think you'd go far unless like
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
been through all the pathways and all that.
But that's it. You
But
got to like test the waters. Play a little bit of basketball, play a little bit of football, and
yeah,
just kind of see what suits you the most. But so after you won that medal, you joined the Western Australia Netball League, and you was an all star in 2020. So going into, I know we talk about 2020 being that COVID year. That was pre-COVID, just before COVID hit. You was kind of.
I, I think it was during COVID. Hey, COVID,
Yeah.
yeah, 2020, yeah, during
Hmm.
COVID. So we started the season late.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the West Australian Netball League,
Hmm.
because it nearly didn't happen. So we started, I think, a few months late, and
Hmm.
then yeah, made the squad for ANL, which is the Australian Netball League, which is a feeder program into Super Netball.
Yeah.
But that got cancelled due to COVID.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of my first opportunity to represent Western Australia. So I didn't really get to do that. And then I think that got cancelled from there on. Like they haven't
Yeah. Yeah.
played that competition again.
Hmm.
And till this year, they've started doing something similar, but not as
Mm.
big as it used to be.
So is that kind of like a big, not like a big shock, but do you kind of have to, obviously during the pandemic, but at times in your career, you've had to kind of take a step back, and kind of reassess like, all right, is this actually something that I want to do? How do I, ground myself to being able to keep pushing? And obviously those times would happen,
Yeah.
throughout any season of sport,
Yeah.
at any level that you're playing at. What's some ways that you've kind of, been able to just be like, all right, I'm gonna get back on the horse, so to speak.
Yeah, I think for me at that time, the stage that I was at in life, like I was pretty mature at the time. So I knew that if I wanted to pursue something, like I had to take all the opportunities that came, and I didn't like. I guess time wasn't really on my side to be picky
Hmm.
on whether or not to take those opportunities because I did come into the sport quite late.
Hmm.
And for me, I was in a position where I could financially support myself to take on these opportunities as well, which I think that was the whole reason I didn't really pursue basketball, is because my parents weren't really in a financial position to help me succeed and go up like the pathway. So once I got there, like they couldn't really help me. Like
Hmm.
we weren't really financial stable, and
Oh, it's
that
expensive, isn't it?
yeah,
Especially for Noongars, you know what I mean? It's so
yeah,
expensive.
and especially, having siblings who also play sport or do
Yeah.
their own thing as well. So
Hmm.
that's kind of the reason I stopped playing. And then when I got back into netball, yeah, I was, I think 27, 26.
Hmm.
Um, been working full time for years, so I like can support myself. And so for
Hmm.
me, it was just like, I guess having that sense of maturity at that age to be able to support me going through, everything.
Well, are you a lot more like, I want to say, like those times where you've had to work full time, and then you've got to manage training on top of full time,
Yeah.
of full time work, bills, and all that sort of stuff, whereas now you're kind of, you get to appreciate being able to have what you have now because you went through those sort of times. And I think a lot of the people that go through those sort of times don't really get to appreciate that, hey, it wasn't always like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And, like I now like just give back to my family wherever I can because like, they've shown me so much support. And even like today, like I'm
Mm.
sponsored by Nike, and that's something I never thought
Yeah,
was
that's
possible in my
dirty.
whole life. So like when I order like clothes and shoes and stuff, like I make sure I look after my nieces and nephews and my siblings, my mum and dad, like
Hmm.
make sure they all get something from that because I know like where I come from, like we didn't have all of these things just handed to us. So we have to work hard for these things. And
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's just, like I want to take my mob on the ride
Mhm.
with me.
Yeah, that's it. Like if you want to chuck in an order for a size 10 US men's in whatever, just saying, then send it. No, but that's what our mob is all about. Hey,
Yeah,
we're all
yeah.
about sharing. If one makes it, we all make it,
We
and
all make
we're
it.
proud. We're
Yeah.
proud of that. That's it. So,
Yeah.
you know, growing up, did you have a strong connection to culture and, you know, cultural practices and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I guess we did have strong connections in a way, but also not because of my dad being part of the stolen generation and my pop being told that we weren't allowed to speak language back in his day. So he was scared that if he taught his kids language, that what would happen to his kids. Back in their day, they weren't even allowed in town. Like they had to have a permit to go into the shops and stuff. So it kind of died out, like our language and all of that. But like you did do the most you can, like going hunting, like with all that stuff, and the
Mm.
men playing the didgeridoos or stuff like that there. But it wasn't as strong as now when we're like, I guess there's just so much resources out there where it's all coming back. And
Mm-hmm.
I think now looking back at Harvey and just the strong cultural presence that we have in Harvey with they've got the Aboriginal workshop up there
Mm-hmm.
that Annie Leslie has organised, and all the family are involved in that there. So I think now it's like really strong, and that's something I'm really proud of, is when I go home seeing all the stuff that they're doing in that space.
Mm.
Because growing up, like it wasn't as strong as what we would have liked it to be.
Yeah, but even knowing that history, you know, of
Yeah.
your pop and knowing, you know, and you know, having such a close connection of, you know, having those sort of permits where Nyungas weren't allowed to go and
Mhm.
is something that's very huge. It's not something that's swept under the rug in your mob, you know. Your
Yeah,
pop's able to talk about that sort of thing. I think that's, you know, something that's as horrible as it is that happened back in the day. It's beautiful that we're able to talk about those sort of things now and
yeah,
actually
yeah,
recognize, hey, that was a thing here in WA. It did happen.
yeah.
Like,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Because I'm very big on cultural learning from all, you know, obviously some people like myself. I got you know privileged to grow up learning my culture.
Yeah,
You know, from my parents, from my grandparents, and then you know it's kind of our responsibility to reteach that to other kids that don't, you know, that don't get that sort of
that,
that connection
yeah.
at
That's
home.
right.
Hey, yeah, it's very
Yeah,
important, and that's
and
what I
I'm just
love.
seeing that.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
and
you go.
I'm
No,
just
no, no,
seeing
you
that.
go.
No, I'm just saying I'm just seeing that with my nephews. Like they're 8 and 9, and they're already starting traditional dancing and stuff, and they'll
Yeah.
dance for their school. They'll do the acknowledgement of country and all that stuff at their school, and
Hmm.
that's something back when I was their age that I wasn't confident to be able to do. So
Mm.
seeing now how proud and how much our culture is being embraced in WA particularly is just
Hmm.
something that I'm really proud to see, and I love seeing
Hmm.
photos of my nephews,
Yeah.
dancing, painted up.
It's just the best feeling, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, and
Yeah.
you know, you learn your culture, you learn about yourself, you learn about your mob, and you
Yeah.
learn about those connections. But how does it feel? You know, you're viewed as what, you know, you're viewed as one of the like big advocates and spokesmen for Indigenous people. Like that's
Yeah, I think with the position I'm in, you kind of have a responsibility to speak on and raise issues that affect our mob, because we don't always have a voice in spaces we should have. And I think using my platform for that is something that
mm,
I learned pretty early on in my netball career, that it's kind of a privilege to have this platform and be able to speak about issues that we are affected by.
yeah, yeah, because you're a very big advocate and a leader for stolen generation and the histories, you know, that come with that. I think everything that I read was just positive stuff. You're what, you know, a lot of young black fellas should inspire to be. You know, you're leading that way
Yeah.
with being such a, you know, such a strong black proud woman. Like is awesome.
Yeah.
I've got to give you your flowers when it comes to that, because you know it's a
Yeah.
big thing to speak up about things, whether it's, you know, negative or positive or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
being able to have that self-confidence in your own, and I would imagine that's from, you know, the old fellas in your life that have kind of shown you, um you know, it's shown you that strength and that resilience. Hey.
Yeah, that's right. And I
Mm.
think, in those moments, you just learn how strong you are
Mm.
to your to your culture, to your connection, to your mob, and you know, you draw on that strength from them, and you learn how resilient you are in these moments. And yeah, I always say, like, you know, if it's not me standing up for these, then it's going to be the next generation. But I want to leave this sport in a better place for those next generations coming through. Like, I don't want them to have to speak up on these issues because it's still happening down the track. Like, if we can speak up now and make their path easier, then like I'm happy to take on that role.
Yeah, that's it. Is you're that leader, and you know, there's so many kids that's following in your footsteps. I understand, you know, at times there might be a little bit of pressure that comes with that, but you know, we're all human, we're all still, you know, learning and stuff like that. But just to be in the position that you are and embracing that responsibility is just something that's just so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's like it makes it easier when you go to, like, you know, NAIDOC carnivals and stuff, and you see the young girls. And we just had the Pacific Games over here, so and they had, for the first time ever, they had an First Nations team compete, which is
they
were called Black Swans, which I just thought was amazing. And just seeing some of those girls and hearing their stories about how hard it is to crack through the pathways, and them telling me that, you know, me being this role model to them has helped them, you know, continue on with their dreams. So I think when you hear stories like that, it just makes it all worth it.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. I can't even imagine what that feeling is. What that feeling is like. You're probably like me. Shut up, go away, or something like
Yeah,
that.
make you stay on it.
Yeah, go away, but keep talking. Like, no, but that's it. So you're one of 3 Indigenous women. You know, to represent Australia and the Diamonds in, you know, and represent your country. That's a huge honor that comes with. But you know, there's so many, you know, great Indigenous netballers out there that's, trying to get seen and trying to get picked. What would kind of your advice to them be, especially, you know, being so young and you've got to have that balance between work and, you know, trying to make it life, and now you've made it. What sort of some key things you would let those young women know? Or men,
Yeah,
or
I
men,
think,
or men. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. I think the main one I always say is, you know, like, take every opportunity that comes your way. Like, you just don't know what doors it could open for you. Like, for me, getting into Suncorp, I came over on a 6-week temporary contract, and I thought, you know, I've got nothing to lose, so I'm going to take this opportunity. After that 6 weeks, I was offered a full-time contract. So I always tell, like, young mob, like, take all the opportunities. Doesn't matter if it's netball, basketball, football, whatever it is. Like, take the opportunities, even if it seems like a minor little contract here or there. Like, it's gonna open doors, and then, you know,
and you
things
don't
come
know.
from that.
You don't know what's on the other side of the door, hey?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, sometimes you like, for example, like myself with photography, I just started doing it for like
Yeah.
mental health stuff, and then my pop's a photographer, so I'm like, you know, he's showing me little things, and then
Yeah.
now I'm starting to get bookings for events, and it's like, oh, I kind of like this little
Yeah.
thing, like
Yeah.
this is nice.
Yeah. It's deadly when that happens. You're like, I don't know, you get like an epiphany, like, hey, I can actually do
Yeah,
this, or
yeah,
actually
yep.
enjoy this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and
That was my first tour on the Australian squad. So I was very nervous, but really excited for that one. And it just gave, being a reserve, like, I had to train up until a certain point, and then I left camp because they went into the Com Games camp. So it just gave me like an experience of what life is like on tour, like just the training load that we take on, and just traveling overseas as well to, you know, in that high performance bubble. So yeah, that was a really good experience for me, and I loved that. That was my first tour, even though I didn't play.
But you got to pick up that whole different, you know, level of professionalism, and how, you know, how the next level like operates. Was there any girls there that you was like kind of shadowing? Like, I know for myself, when I go to bigger and better teams, I kind of like look at the leaders and try and see, all right,
Yeah,
how do they prepare for games? How do they debrief from
yeah,
games? Even like the way they talk and stuff like that. I'm kind
yeah.
of, was there anyone on that team that you kind
Um,
of looked at like that?
well, I think all of them actually. They were all like, yeah, I was all like a bit starstruck being surrounded by, you know, these stars that I've watched for years. But the good thing about the Diamonds environment is we're all equal when we're in that environment, and we've got our captains and our leadership group, but we're all seen as equal there. And I think that's my favourite part about being in a Diamonds camp and in the Diamonds bubble. And so like they just embrace who you are and the differences that you bring. So like if you prepare a different way, like that's okay, as long as you know it works for you and you're being your best version. So I think I did it was me and Ruby, so she's my Firebirds teammate. We were both reserves, so it was both our first tour, so we kind of just stuck together as, you know, the newbies trying to figure out, you know, our place in the squad. But yeah, no, it was
and kind of just be in the moment,
awesome.
soak it all in. Like, that would have been the hardest bit, was like no, that would have been wicked. That would have been wicked. So how are you, so what's your kind of, I like to talk to people about, because I'm a big thing on mental health. So this podcast, yes, it's a lot about how speaking on Indigenous youth and talking to people like yourself, you know, that are doing great things, and to inspire people to do great things. But I think mental health management is something I advocate for. It's something that is very personal to different people. You know, some people, you know, I can't speak on other people, but, you know, some people find it in fitness, some people find it in meditation or whatever. So during the off season, what's kind of how do you kind of step away from the sport and kind of just regather yourself?
Yeah, for me, it's getting home back to Harvey, you know, back to Noongar country, and that's when I need to recharge, and I'm feeling, you know, disconnected like right now, so I'm hanging out for the end of the season. But it's definitely getting home and seeing my mob, just being surrounded by my mob, because when I'm home, I'm just Auntie D or Donnell, you know, like I'm not the netballer, and I think that's the biggest mental health refresh for me, I guess, because I'm always, you know, in public as the netballer and, you know, living by a schedule. But once I'm home, I'm just relaxed, switched off. You know, I'm on country. So it's like, that's the best part for me, is just being home.
Yeah, it's all healing. Like, it's pretty much as soon as you land, you're like, oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
much
just like
better.
a weight lifted off your shoulder. You just feel
Do you
so
get much
much
time
better.
do you get much time to come back during the season, or is it just only like at the end?
Not really. When we play Perth, I'll get like an extra night to stay. But fly home, you know.
Even then,
I
it's
think
just more rush around, eh?
it is, because driving 2 hours south and back up to Perth to catch a flight, it's just sometimes it's just more of a hassle to do that. But yeah, this year my mob didn't come over just because there's just been so much going on here. So yeah, in the past or last year they got to come over, which made it easier, because then I, you know, had my mob over here, and then playing back home, got to stay there for an extra night. But yeah, I think I'll get a week or so back home after the season before we get stuck into diamond stuff.
Yep. No, that's wicked. And you know, you talk about that sort of connection to country. So while you are over, you know, in Queensland, you know, playing absolutely great for the Queensland Firebirds, like throwing layups or over your head, backwards, facing other direction, all that sort of stuff. So how are you you know, able to center yourself while you are away and manage that time? Because like for myself, when I was living in America for a bit, it was kind of it was FaceTime family regularly. It was, you know, listen, because my dad makes music, so listening to dad's music and stuff like that to kind of, you know, reconnect and rekindle. What's some things that you do while you're away?
Yeah, while I'm away, I'm the same. I think I'm on FaceTime like every day to my kids or to my mum. It's just like, leaving training, I'll just ring them up for a yarn or something, just, you know, just to chat. But definitely, FaceTime's probably the biggest one. And I agree with the music. I'm always listening to some sort of music that, you know, I know my mob be listening to. So that's some sort of connection there. But also, the good thing about being in Queensland is there's mob over here too. And, you know, they get, you know, how hard it can be being away. So I've got like a little community over here that I can turn to, you know, just to get some mob time, I guess, and just reconnect and just be around mob. I think it's just so important, and you don't realize. I never realized how disconnected you become when you move away from home, and then until you start, you just get this yearning feeling for home, like it just doesn't go away. And for me, it's just I'll just connect with mob over here. And just FaceTime home as much as I can.
For a bit when I was there, I was in Gold Coast. It was the Yugambeh. Yugambeh, am I saying that right? It was the Yugambeh mob. That I was with. It's wicked Dig players. Like, a couple of them mob that I met. I thought I was a good Dig player, and then they started playing. And I was like, bro.
I just love the seeing their culture over here. Like, it's just so strong, and with the Torres Strait is so much. Like, haven't seen much of the Torres Strait culture in WA, but when I moved over here, because of how close it is, and a lot of them live here, it's just seeing them, you know, at our First Nations round games here and stuff. It's just it's awesome. Like, just to see how they do things compared to how we do things as well. It's just
and that
it just makes me proud to be a black one.
Oh yeah, like I remember for IBA when we came over. I think it was the first, because I seen you at the under-17s. Was it the under-17s?
Yes,
the under-17s. I think before that, when we came for the under-14s, I was kind of sitting there, and then the TSI mob or TI mob got up and did their dancing, and the island step that they do is just I was trying to get them we got back to camp, and they were trying to teach me. I was like, brother, this is hurting my ankles, bro, and I got basketball ankles too, so this hurts.
No, I thought that was good, seeing that competition, and just seeing you know, just on social media about how you all mixed with all different mobs from all over Australia. I was just like, that is amazing. I just wish they had something like that when I was back playing basketball.
True as like I can't even explain it, how the kids were able to like connect with mob and make them real close connections with someone in South Australia or NT at such a young age. Like, how cool is that? We got to wait till we get older and be like, who are your mob?
That's right. And just seeing somebody that looks like them or comes from backgrounds like them in those high performance environments, just you know, makes it easier for them. It's amazing. I think that's incredible what Paddy's been able to set up with that.
Oh, it was crazy. You should have seen their faces when the first time he walked in. Everyone just went mad. No, but that's it. So you've got 3 songs that has to be in your pre-game playlist. What are they?
Ooh, okay.
They have to. There's no doubt. You can have more, but the 3 main songs that you have to have.
3 main songs. Something. I have to think what I'm listening to at the moment. I think it's "Saving Up" by Dom Dollar.
Yeah.
That kind of gets you going. Sometimes, you know what? This is embarrassing, but sometimes Celine Dion. Anything Celine Dion. Shit, that is embarrassing.
No, that is awesome. That is. I'll tell you, he won't like me telling you this, but okay, when Dad was first started doing music and shows and stuff, when he did his live production, his first one, he watched Celine Dion perform in Vegas with Circus du Soleil over and over and over. And I remember being like 13, 14, like when he would come and pick me up for the weekend, like, as if we got to watch this again. And he's like, look at the... And I'm sick of Celine Dion. If I hear Celine Dion, I'll go off my head.
Oh, no, I just brought it back up for you.
I love you. Like, how she talk. Like,
oh my gosh. But actually, do you know what my favourite song is now at the moment? Eminem, Houdini.
Oh, the Houdini, little blast from the past.
So loving that at the moment.
Hey, you got a big variety. That's a big variety of 3 songs.
It's quite different. I listen to pretty much anything except that headbanging stuff. Just can't do that.
No, can't do that. Can't do that at all. I don't.
But a lot of the times I'm just like, I'll chill out listening to country music, because when I get into the club, there's some sort of duk duk going on in there. So
Yeah,
a lot
some
of the
duk duk.
time, yeah, a lot of the times it's just some sort of country,
Yeah.
like rock, calm ways,
You gotta like bring the heart rate down a little, get the zone 2 or 3 in your heart rate. Bring it down. No, that is awesome. Well, no, but as we wrap up, I want to say
Yeah.
not only thank you for coming on the podcast because I think that's a given, but I want to say just thank you for being the inspiring person that you are, whether it's on the netball court, off the netball court, whether it's on social media, like just you being yourself, being a proud young Black woman and you know, being able to lead. There's one thing of leading people, there's another thing of, keep making tracks. And that's something
Mhm.
that you do with every step that you take. You're continuing on to make new tracks and
Yeah.
more ways for people to follow. And that is just something I've got to give you your flowers for, because this show is all about flowers. And I just want to say thank you for being you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You're just making me drip, giving me that big praise
Good.
there.
That's the point. That's the point of it. You deserve it, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of times you don't really get to take a step back and look at what you've done. Like I myself, for example, I'm always focusing on what's next, and
Yeah.
don't really get to enjoy the stuff that you've done.
Soak
So
it all in and
yeah,
enjoy
and
it.
soak
Yeah.
it all in. So I hope at least for the 40-minute interview that we had, that you actually get to soak in how amazing of a person you are.
Yes, no, it was so nice. So thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'm just happy to be that role model for our mob coming through and in
Mhm.
whatever chosen sport that they want to do.
Yep, that's it. That's it. Well, Donnell, thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. So you got 4 games left? Four
Yeah,
games
4
left of
games
the season?
left. So we've got
Hmm.
against who we feed. We're against Perth this weekend, actually. So
Oh yeah, over there?
yeah, over in Queensland. Yep.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. We only
No.
got all our games are pretty much in Queensland and one down in Sydney. So
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
well, we're gonna have to catch up for a coffee when you get back to Perth.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
End of season I'm counting down
You count
4
down the
weeks.
day, yeah, the 4 weeks. No,
Yeah.
well, all the best, and thank you for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.